Hello everybody, Gisele Grenier here. In this video lesson, you're going to learn how to create a textured mixed media piece, and really it's featuring any subject you want. I'm going to be featuring Edgar Allen Poe. And with this piece, it's going to be very, it's like my Dark Side of Vintage theme, and I'm going to use some gears and some tickets and stuff. This is from a Tim Holtz package that I got. You can really use anything, and I cut the quote out. Now, for the actual printable, so this is available for free on freevintagedigistamps.blogspot.com. It's on Pinterest, and there's this beautiful collage sheet here, and I'll link it in the description below. So what I did is I printed it, and then I cut this piece out. This is going to be for our necklace, and I cut this one here and put that aside. So just cut it out. Then what I did is I took some Canson watercolor art board. This is super thick. There's 10 boards. It's really hard to cut. You can use anything, but I wanted to use this because it's really stiff. And what I did is I cut a piece that was smaller than the finished edge. Then once I cut that, then I took the scissors and I tried distressing this with a razor blade, and it didn't work because it's so thick. Because normally I would just take the razor blade and just kind of cut in and pull it like this. And it's really hard to do. Okay? Because this stuff is so thick. But that's the effect I'm looking for. I don't want it straight. I want it cut. And actually, while I'm on here, because now my pain level on my wrist is not too bad. Because you don't want, I don't want to do this because I'm just going to make a flat edge, but you want it really, really rough. And what it is almost like broken pieces of wood. So I'm just going to take the scissors and cut. Again, if you're using corrugated cardboard, that'll work fine too. But make sure that your piece is at least I would say a 1/4 inch smaller than the actual collage piece if you're using this one here. Because what we're going to do is we're going to tear the paper around, and we want some of the background to show, but we want it to look like a layered piece. But that's just how I'm going to do it. You can do it where it fits all the way around. That's if that's the way you want to do it. All right, so nice and rough. And I purposely don't want mine to be square. This is hard on the hands. Okay, so I've got a rough piece here. And now my hands need a break. So what I'm going to be doing is I've got a stamp that I can use to stamp some of the background. And the actual product I'm going to be using is the Decoart line. I'm going to be priming the actual artboard with Decoart Chalky Gesso, the black. And for the actual collage medium, I'm going to use the Decoart medium matte medium for the collage. And then for the colors, I'm probably going to be bringing out a maybe transparent yellow iron oxide. I'm not sure. But right now I'm going to be using the Decoart Media Fluid Acrylics, Quinacridone Burnt Orange, Transparent Red Iron Oxide, and Raw Umber. So I may bring out the transparent yellow iron oxide, and I may bring out carbon black. I'm not sure at this point. All right, so first thing I want to do is prime the board. Now you don't have to do this, but I prime everything. It just makes it, makes it stronger. Okay, so I'm just going to take that. And because I love the finish of this as well. Oh, that's what I forgot. Okay, yeah, I am missing the finish. I'm going to finish this with gold, or actually copper. I'm probably going to finish with copper. So now I have to pull out some copper. I might use this one, the Decoart Metallics, Dazzling Metallics, the copper. I may use that one. Let's just hold that there. So 2 layers of this gesso makes a beautiful flat finish that almost looks like velvet, and So I'll put on one rough coat like this, then I'll let it dry, then I'll come in and just put another coat, you know, rough like this. The actual finish coat, sometimes a third coat is necessary depending on how porous the surface is all go vertical and then horizontal. It also depends on drying time. This one here, I don't care if I have that type of finish to it, like the brush strokes, or the brush strokes won't show. It's just sometimes depending on the substrate you're painting on, you might see the actual direction. Brush strokes to me are thick globs of paint, and that I don't want to see. And this stuff dries really fast, and because here it's really hot. And always follow the directions on the bottle. So I'm not going to worry about the sides, to be honest with you, but I am going to come in and I'll just put a light coat on there, because I am going to finish this with the metallic paint. But you need dark to show light and light to show dark, so I want to make sure that the paint does show up. And if you're going to be selling this, feel free to you know, take the inspiration for this. Just make sure that the collage material, if you don't use that same piece, you make sure the collage material you use, you can use it for commercial purposes. If you are going to be selling this, finish the back as well. You don't want to be selling art that looks like that. So just come in and put as much attention to the back as you do the front. It just shows quality. And again, with the back, I'll just be putting a couple of layers on there just so it's a perfect, even finish. Look how flat that is. This has got to be my absolute favorite gesso, and I'll be really upset if Decoart stops making it. I already went through a withdrawal with the Traditions Transparent Red Iron Oxide. Boy, was I pissed off. Actually, is it Traditions or the Decoart Media Fluid Acrylics? I don't know. One of the lines, they stopped making that particular color. Oh, was not happy. But that's okay, because I can make whenever I run out, I can always use the other line. They only got rid of it out of the one line. But look at that. Oh, gorgeous. So I'm going to do this, and I'll put on, you know, enough even layers so it's a complete flat finish. And then once that's done, we'll come in, we'll tear, I'm gonna wash my hands, we'll tear the paper and start preparing that for collaging. All right, so look at that finish on that. It's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Now I have to remember what side is the front and what side is the back. I think that side's the front. All right, so I'm gonna put that, kind of lean that up to finish drying. So what I want to do with this one now is I want to tear the paper, and I'm going to tear it towards me so it'll lift and leave an unfinished edge. If I tear the paper this way, away from me, the edge is clean. If I tear the paper towards me, it leaves an actual unfinished, the raw paper here, and that makes it for a really nice edge for staining. You don't have to do this. I just love the look. I was off camera there, sorry. And there will be a natural grain to the wood, so the paper. So make sure if you're going against the grain that you're careful. There we go. Ooh, he's a little bit big, so I might have to cut him down just a little bit. Sorry, Mr. Poe. Here we go. And then the quote will go here, and then the ticket. And I found one word single, which I liked. Then I'm going to cut this because there's no point in using two, and that one will go right here. So I don't need that one there. Oh, maybe. Actually, that looks pretty good. Yeah, so it'll be something like that. And then I've got the gears. So recycle. So now that I have an idea of what I have here, I'm going to turn around and I'm going to take my metallic paint. I'm going to put a little bit here, not a lot. So this is a dazzling metallic copper. I want to take a brayer. I can use a paper towel core, you know, as well. I've got a little one. Can use a foam roller. Doesn't matter. And I just want to roll out a very thin layer. And you have to work fairly quickly with this. Put my stamp in there. And I just want to put, it's just to get some type of pattern, geometric pattern in there. Text would have been better. There we go. Text would have been much better. Now with this, clean it immediately, because you don't want the acrylic paint drying. I don't know why I even bother using stamp pads, because I much prefer using the acrylics for this technique. And then if you've already got something else on the side, I mean, you can take another card and just, you know, use up the excess paint. With the stamp in here, I can turn around and do a pressing. Oops, smudged. You know, got a little bit of a pattern, not much, but, you know, just to use up the excess, you can do that. That will take no time to dry. Clean that brayer really well. And clean up the paint. And then with the paint that I'm cleaning up here, I can turn around and keep this rag, this baby wipe, let it dry, and then rinse it out under water to get rid of any of the cleaning things, the moisturizing things in there. Then I've got a piece that I can use for a background. Alright, so I'm going to put that aside. Alrighty. Put this over here. Now what I want to do for this one here, and I've got a little piece of, nope, can't use that, a little piece of cosmetic sponge that I'm going to blot dry as much as possible. And I'm going to take raw umber, just, oh, that's even too much. And I actually may have to go with a brush, and I'm just going to paint the edges. Be very careful how much paint you put here. Well, mind you, with this, if you happen to go into the actual piece over the text, you can always print off another copy. Or if you have tiny stamps, you can do that as well. You know what I've done, which oh, that would have been nice to do. Maybe I saw, you know what, I'm still going to do it. Is if you a tea stain on the paper is really pretty, but the tea that I use, I don't have any. You can use a green tea, you can use a black tea. The tea that I'm using, because the color is a it's the Tetley Lemon Chamomile, because the tea is a beautiful golden yellow and it stains the paper really well. Well, what can I use instead of that? Transparent yellow iron oxide. So I am going to have to bring it out. So, and this won't be wasted. Whoopsie. Look how beautiful that is. But I want that to stand out a little bit more. Transparent yellow iron oxide. And if you have like yellow ochre or raw sienna, that'll work, but those are opaque, so make sure you mix that with medium so it becomes more transparent. Oh, where's my brush? I'm going to get a small brush. And I'm just going to put a very thin layer. I used a dry brush. My brush is not wet. Actually, let's see if this will work. I'm going to use the other side of the sponge. There we go. What I forgot to do is I forgot to put matte medium on the paper. Why is that important? Because this paper is just cheap printer paper that, depending on how much you work with the paper, eventually the paper will break down. by putting matte medium on both sides, the paper has a barrier layer on both sides and it becomes much stronger. So my bad. And I actually have it right in front of me. And on top of that too, when you put the matte medium on, then you put the transparent yellow iron oxide, I can come in and just, you know, wipe out a little bit excess just to make it even more transparent. But it actually turned out okay. The effect I'm going for is just like a vintage paper. And it worked just fine. I'm going to edge that a bit more. You know what technique I love doing? I have to do it outside though. Is burning the edges of paper. And then stamping inside that. But when you're under a water ban because of heat, we don't do anything with fire. There we go. Looks like burned paper. And I'm just going to wipe out the excess. And I will seal that with matte medium just to make sure I got everything. So this one here I'll do again with the same thing with the raw umber. Yeah, a little bit of raw umber just to stain. I don't like white edges. Okay, just a little bit. Just makes it look old. And this one as well. It also creates a contrast between the layers. You really can use any color that you want for this. Burnt umber is also quite nice. And this takes some practice, so doing this, all it's going to do is pull up the paint, but putting your piece on a bit of an angle and making sure you blot excess, it creates a nice, soft, transparent edge. But again, practice. Now, a lot of you have emailed me about using the distress stamps, stamp pads. That's fine. Just remember that that stuff isn't waterproof. That's why I like using the acrylic paints, especially the Decoart fluid acrylics, because they're fluid enough for the transparency and they're permanent. So now I'm putting the sponge more flat against the edge. And I can even just come in. When I know I've got most of it wiped off, I'll come in and I'll just go on the inside. Now, if you have the distress stamp pads, there's nothing wrong with them. I've got some of the colors. Just be careful when it comes. If you want something to be completely waterproof, you'll have to make sure that you use varnish as well, or even a spray to varnish it. Okay, this I won't have to put matte medium on there. This I won't. This I will. And these little guys here, I'm going to come in with the. Oh, that's where the carbon black's going to come in handy. No, I lied. Not carbon black. The Decoart Matte Metallic Charcoal. Now, if you have sandpaper, you can come in and sand the finish off this a little bit. What I should be using is the Decoart Multi-Surface Satins, because that's perfect for that. And I'm going to have to use the same sponge. This is way too much paint. I'm going to come in and I'm just going to put a micro thin layer. Not too much paint there. Yep. There we go. And all I'm doing is I'm putting a little bit of a transparent layer on top of these clock pieces and gears and coggy thingies, just to get rid of that heavy silver look. Now these things, you can pick these up on Amazon. Stupidly cheap. And these ones here, I got a whole bag. I don't even know what I paid for this, but it wouldn't have been more than 20 bucks. Up here, just for shipping to Canada and that. So we're on Prime now, so a lot of the stuff where I just can't get it locally, or we're shipping, buying direct, is out of this world. Amazon's a good way to, it's a way to do it. Whatever it takes for you to create, that's all that matters to me. There we go. So now they're not such that you know, that chrome look. The other thing is I'll have to check to see, you know, once this dries, is how permanent that is. I've never tried it doing this way without sanding. So that's the matte metallic, Decoart matte metallic in the charcoal. So it takes care of that. And we did the copper, so that takes care of that. I'm just making some room. And we did the raw umber for the edges, that takes care of that. And we did the transparent yellow iron oxide, that takes care of that. And okay, matte medium time. That's dry. I probably should be doing this on a clean area. So I'm using the matte medium to, do I have a bigger brush? A bigger brush that's clean. Nope, that's not happening. I'm just going to go on the back, let that dry, then do, whoops, see, look at that. Look how thin that is. Okay, I have to clean that up. Come on, come on. Now doing this on palette paper, on a clean part of the palette paper, it peels up super easy. It's a great way to flatten stuff out. The other thing is you just put it between 2 sheets of wax paper and then put some books on top of it. Okay, so I'm going to let that dry for a sec. Oh, Mr. Poe, I forgot about you. Okay, so let's turn this and let's do him on the back. I'm going to do the back first and then we'll paint the front, because I also have to put the edge the sides, but I also want to put the matte medium on the front. Okay, so like that. All right, so you know what, while we're here, let's just do these as well. It's not going to hurt. It's not going to hurt. I'm going to do the front. It just makes everything stronger, especially when you're building up a lot of texture. It just makes everything stronger. And these I'm not going to, you can even do the gears and cogs. Okay, that takes care of that. Okay, so I'm going to let that dry. And then we'll flip it over. So once these dry, I'm going to flip them over and do the other side. Then we'll come back and then we'll start putting everything together. Okay, so everything's got 2 coats of matte medium on both sides, except for that. I even did the little gears there. It turned out, it worked out fine. I tried using my fingernail to scrape the paint off. It wasn't coming off. Oh, here we go. All right, so Mr. Poe, we're going to let me think. Transparent red iron oxide. Sorry, I got lost there. I pulled out the transparent. Try that again. That's quinacridone burnt orange. Transparent red iron oxide. I wasn't sure that the quinacridone might be a little bit bright. And shoot, I need another little sponge. I'm running out of these. Okay. Yeah, very little. And when doing this, I like to do the edges first, and then I'll come in and then I'll go over the entire piece. Now, if you want your piece to just stay black and white, that's fine. And even if you wanted the piece to have the edge of being black and white, that's fine too. You don't have to use color on the edge. And this one here, I didn't go in enough. I didn't go in enough. I want to pull the paper right inside his jacket. There we go. Right here, and you can fussy cut around there as well if you wanted to do that. Oh, let me just show you what happened. So I put too much paint on here, so I can use a baby wipe and just wipe out most of the excess. Because I have the matte medium on there, that'll work. I'm not worried about it because I'm going to be putting the transparent red iron oxide over the whole piece anyways. I just want to do the edge first. But what I want to do is I want to dry fit this and then see first, do I want... Okay, I really dropped the ball on this one. Did not... Basically the tearing is to go right around the body. I really dropped the ball. And then you can fussy cut around here if you want. I'm not going to worry about that. There we go. So I'm thinking, just going to put just a thin coat right here, because I'm thinking, yeah, I want to put the whole thing. It'll look like old paper. And what I like to do is I don't like to do a complete, like an even finish, because it looks more aged when you've got some dark patches and some light patches. I'm also thinking now that this one here may have been better. This one here. But you know what? Then that just leaves room for another piece. All right. So yeah, I am going to use the quinacridone burnt orange, like a micro speck, on the same sponge. Really blot out the excess and just over the jacket area. With the transparent red iron oxide, it doesn't hold much of the color because it's transparent, but the quinacridone burnt orange, it's really intense, and when layered on top, it does refract some of that color. I'm not putting it everywhere though. Put a little bit in the corner here. A little bit in the corner here, and because this is clean, I can put that back in the bottle. There we go. So nice and rough. Put these sponges. Do I need any more of these sponges? Oh yeah, yes I do. Okay, which one can I use? I'm going to use, can I use this one? No, I could probably use that one. So I'm going to put that one in the water. Get the Dazzling Metallics, the copper. And I can use the same sponge that I used for this part here. Put it over here to dry. And now I'm just going to just touch very lightly. Wipe off the excess. And what's nice about this rough edge is that because there's divots in there because of the way we cut the board, is that some parts will be shiny and some parts will be more the matte. Here we go. Put that in water. Okay, so that's going to go here. Now, if you find, I want to leave it, but how can I demonstrate this? If you find that this is too intense, what you can do is that you can take I wouldn't use a chalky gesso, but probably the Decoart, the carbon black, with a little bit of water, and then add a glaze on top of that, which will neutralize some of this brightness. Let me do it on the back. Let me do it on the back. Okay, because this is the back, so it's fine. Okay, so let me just clean that up. Forgot to do an extra piece to demonstrate that for you. Let me speed up the drying time. You know what, I look at this and I think I like that better than that. There. Oh my God. Okay. See? That's so much nicer. Okay, so because it's not so strong, this is quite strong. So why don't I, because I think I want to use this one, but I don't like this piece here. That's too strong. So I have to really move him. Yeah, I would have to move him way over here. So I don't like that thing there. Cut him down a bit more, but no, I've already done so much work on him. All right, so let's try that. Carbon black. Because not everybody will have the same products as I do, and it might, not gonna lie, it might be too intense for some of you. And water, a little bit of water. And I'm not going to use that part of the sponge. Do I have another sponge I can use? Oh my goodness, Gisele, you're going to have to get some sponges. Now here's where the distress inks might come in handy, is if you can use a distress ink for that. I gotta cut that. That's dried out. Excuse me. So a little bit of water. And blot, 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 blot. So all we're looking at doing is just putting a micro thin layer just to knock back a little bit of that metallic. Just a little bit. Now, if you're not sure about what this is going to look like, a layer of matte medium, because you can always wipe it back. See how that really knocks it back? Remember, this is the chalky gesso that's on here, so it's going to suck up the paint really, really well. So if you want to be able to wipe back some of this black, matte medium on here. See how it really sets it in the background. I need a little bit more. Drop at a time. Oh, I love this look. Now, if I was going to use this now for the actual front piece, because I've only sporadically gone around, the finish is going to be different where the paint was versus the varnish. So I could turn around and put a coat of the matte medium on there just to even out the finish. Let me speed up the drying time. See how you see the uneven finish? But now when putting that on here, that's more in the background. Okay, so it's a choice. Do you want something like that that's less intense, or do you want something like that? Well, let's dry fit. Dry fitting is always the way to go. So I'm going to put him a little bit higher. The ticket will go here, a ticket will go here, the quote, and then the gears. And the gears can just go right here. Okay, so I'm thinking this is a little too strong, this stuff here. So, what's it look like on this side? Just, oops, this one here. Yeah, see, that's a little bit better. But I want more design. So I'm going to turn around and I'm going to do the exact same technique over here. Just going to go over neutralize that a little bit. If I had, and I do, oh, I'm such an idiot. Or am I? Hang on. The matte metallic. If I had, no I don't, so I'm not an idiot. The Decoart matte metallic in a copper finish, that would have been perfect for this. Oh, excuse me. That should have been what I could have used rose gold, but it wasn't the copper. Oh, excuse me. My goodness. So I'm only going to do that part. Let's see. Oh yeah, so much better. Okay. Let me just put a bit more out. So I'm going to continue on doing this, and you can choose to continue watching, or you can just skip ahead to the next section. But I'm going to keep doing this because I want you guys to see exactly how this works out. The other thing you could do is put a layer of translucent paper on top of that. It was going to make a real hazy finish to it. So now I'm going to take a baby wipe. That's not too wet. I'm going to come in and just remove the excess. Just I'm really watching to see what I've got here. Oh yeah. Oh. This is nice. Perfect. 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 It looks like it's stamped metal. Let me just speed up the drying time. So because the chalky gesso has a very velvety finish to it, so you can see how uneven that is. Okay? That's not the fault of the product. That's just because of the technique that I used. So this is where now I have to choose. Okay, do I want to use matte medium, or do I want to use like a varnish on that? The problem with using the varnish is you have to be careful. Is a varnish is a varnish. It's not a layering product. So I'm going to use the matte medium. And I'm going to use a bigger brush. Now you can also brush on gloss varnish on this. Oh, you know what would have been cool? Oh, you know, it's too late. The one step crackle. That would have been nice to put on here. So with these cards, because it's on an actual artboard, it really adds substance to the piece. It's actually a miniature piece of art. And you can get more money for it selling it than just like an artist trading card if you want to sell just the artist trading card. Because that's usually size that can fit into sleeves. Not diminishing that, but just when something feels more substantial, it puts a higher value on it. So I will even out that edge, and I'll have to come back in and put the copper on the edge as well. There's a piece of dust there. There we go. Stand that up. And what we'll do is when we come back, I'll finish this piece up. Look at that. That is so much nicer. Just enough in the background, and with the matte medium, 2 layers, and now it's time to put all this together. So let's start with Mr. Poe first. Dry fit, important, because that way you want to make sure that everything is placed correctly. So I want him to be a little bit higher. So right there. So almost at the top. Okay, so I'm just looking for guide points so I know exactly where to place him back. So a layer. That's why I only put 2 layers on this, because I was gonna have to put more on anyways. All right. So his pokey thing was right there. And I'm just going to make sure that's sealed. Push out any air bubbles. Now, although this is matte medium, I prefer a gloss finish when I'm working with photographs because it just makes them pop. But because Poe is old, like super old, anything that's vintagey, I don't like to really make it high gloss. I like the flat finish. So when it comes to varnishing, that the Decoart Duraclear Ultra Matte is what would be perfect for this. It's polyurethane, so it's safe for indoor, outdoor. And when I say indoor, outdoor, you wouldn't put this outdoors. But if it was displayed on a mini easel in a high humidity area, or let's say you're in an area that has high humidity, it'll be safe. As long as the person that would be buying it is aware of what the actual substrate is, then it's ultimately up to them on displaying it appropriately. As long as you tell them what it was varnished with. Okay, next, the ticket. All right. I want to make sure that the word single. Now I could overlap this like this, but just for handling purposes, I'm going to leave it just like that. You could also change the finish on each individual piece. So like I could put, let's say, a gloss varnish on this, which I might actually do. A gloss varnish might be a bit nicer on that. That way the quote will stand out. But again, if you're looking on doing something vintage, gloss really isn't the look. You can also curl the edges of the paper. And I'm going to come in, I'm going to clean because now there's matte medium being built up on the edge of the pieces. Let me just do that now. The other thing, oh, you know what? I should have, I got to get this, I got to unpack that box. The Decoart Decoupage medium. Oh, I love that stuff. They have an indoor outdoor one that's superb. Okay. And by varnishing both sides, you can move it around. Now, if this was printed on heavy cardboard, I could leave it flat. And, okay, now I'm going to put that in water. And I'm going to reach up. Boy, I really dropped the ball on getting all the products that I needed. The Decoart Media liquid glass for these little gears. So also, before I assembled everything, I came back in with the copper on the sides. So I'm just going to come in and I'm using my finger to get rid of the excess matte medium. Fold that over. There's little pieces of paper sticking out there. There we go. Look at that. Oh. Now, because there's matte medium here, I can still use this paper, but not for finished art. So I'm going to just clean that up because I can always use this for another project, upcoming project. But I'm going to flip this over so it's clean. And come in with the liquid glass. So I'm going to place this first. Now this one here is, there's two, so what side? This side, oopsie. And it's a matter of I want to make sure the word single isn't covered up. When I think of Poe, I think of a lonely man. For those of you that are into vintage stuff like that, check out the project. You'd have to search for it, that I have it on my blog, or even on my YouTube channel. I don't think it's on my Facebook page. The Edgar Allen Poe painting I did, which was fun. So I'm just gonna, because once I glue these down, I can't move them. So in threes is always safe, but I'm looking here to see the actual placement of what I want. Oh, I like that. Okay, there we go. So that's what I'm gonna do. So I'm gonna, oh, come on. How much do you want to bet? Is this a new bottle? No? Why is that clogged? Oh. Alright, I gotta get a paper clip to unclog that. Alright, so I just took a paper clip, put it in, and that should be fine. Oh, you know, I'm just gonna do it like this. So that's too much. Now, the liquid glass does dry shiny, so that's why you only need a little bit. But because it's so thick, oh, his gear just does not want to cooperate. Because it's so thick, I really like it for gluing things down. I'm just going to lift that like that because I like the placement of that. So little, less is better. Now, remember what the other thing you can do too is that if you've got, let's say the finish is too shiny, we can come back, and I'll actually demonstrate that. I'm going to move this higher because the liquid glass will be here. We can come back and put the ultra matte varnish around there to get rid of that shine. There we go. So there's that. Okay, so let me cap that. Actually, you know what I could do? Decoart has these caps that actually they a piece that goes inside to, oh, I don't have it. It's a cap that goes on that actually has a needle that goes inside. It's the writer. I would like to be able to do the same thing with that, but it doesn't fit. That's okay. And then I just store it upside down. All right. While I'm here, you know what would have been cool if I did the liquid glass on that. So the quote would stand out, but that's going to take forever to dry. So I'm just going to come in with the Duraclear High Gloss Varnish, a drop, and a small brush just around there, just to make that stand out. Now, typically vintage stuff, you wouldn't use gloss because this might be old paper, but I want the quote to stand out. We loved with a love that was more than love. But yeah, if you guys are into like the dark side of vintagey stuff, it was years ago that I did the series, but check it out and try out some of the projects. I did the Raven, Poe. There we go. All right, and just gonna get rid of the excess here. And I'm just going to move it around a little bit so it seals the edge of the gear. Like I said, because what we're going to do when we come back, I'm going to, because this is going to be shiny, so it'll be a learning moment, and to show you what it looks like with it being shiny, and then coming around with the matte varnish and going over how you can make everything even again. Okay, it's all dry, so just to show you that it does have a bit of a shiny finish around the cogs where I spread out the liquid glass. So now we're just going to do a varnish with the Decoart Ultra Matte. Decoart Ultra Matte varnish. Bet you I have the wrong. Yep, I have the wrong bottle. This is a new one. I need the one that's already opened. There we go. That one. All right. So I'm just going to load a dry brush, and I'm going to come in. Oh, I need a smaller brush than that. I need a tiny, 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 tiny brush. Because I don't want to cover up the gloss of the quote. So all I'm going to do is just go in, apply the varnish. And just make sure I don't cover the quote, because I want the quote to stay. I want the quote to stay glossy. But then you know what? If I happen to cover the quote with the varnish, I just come back in and I varnish it again with gloss. It's no big deal. This stuff is all interchangeable. But I want to show you something. So take a look at that when it looks like flat. Now look what it looks like wet. You tell me which finish. Like this is, although this is matte finish, but this is what it would look like if it was gloss varnish. I like that so much better. I'm not liking the matte varnish, the ultra matte varnish, as the finish for this. You know what? I think I might, What I want to do is I want to go in and I want to use, even if it's just the gloss or the satin, but let's just see what it looks like. And varnishing, you need to actually be using a flat brush, not a round brush, because with the round brush you're going to see a lot more brush strokes. Now I'm just going to come in, just clean up the edges. Yeah, I'm liking the high gloss is too much, but I'm thinking maybe even the satin or, yeah. Well, let's wait a few minutes and see what this looks like when it's dry. I mean, it looks beautiful with a flat finish, and I lost a little bit of the gloss here. So I can turn around and do triple thick on this, which will really make it pop. And the ultra high gloss is what I normally use for glossy stuff, but it might be too much for this. There's the regular high gloss and the regular gloss varnish, which I put out here. So I'm going to do that, because I could always come back again and change the finish. Let's just see what happens. I always thought, you know, when you varnish, you have to stick with the finish, because especially if you do a matte varnish, then gloss, the matte varnish is still going to show through. I have yet to do a piece where I did the different layer and a different finish where it didn't work. The only thing with this one here, because this is more of a vintage piece, I don't know if gloss is more appropriate. But I love the look of gloss. On camera, it sucks though. I mean, look at the colors just pop out right at you. So if I wanted the quote to stand out even more, I can come in with the triple thick or even the liquid glass and just put a layer of gloss just around the paper. That would take about 2 days to dry though. There we go. I like that much better. Oh, this turned out so beautiful. Look at that. I had to open the windows. It was too hot in here, so I apologize for the background noise. But look how beautiful that is. This turned out absolutely perfect. And now you can't even tell where the liquid glass is. beautiful. So if making this to sell, I would let this sit for about 2-3 days before actually shipping it or putting it on display to sell, because there's so much collage material here. It may be dry to the surface, but the underneath layers may not be dry yet. So, and putting the matte media or the black paint on top of the copper stamp turned out beautiful. So the other thing is to finish the back, which I'm not worried for varnishing part, but you need to sign it and do whatever you need to do. But that turned out beautiful. So I'd love to hear your thoughts. What you would have changed, how you would have changed the project, anything you would have made it different. And I'd like to hear how you can take this idea and get inspired to make your own small mixed media piece with an Edgar Allan Poe look to it, if that's your thing. Otherwise, I'd love to hear what you think. So that's it. I'm finished, off to do my next video. So until I see you then, stay inspired.